Hey guys, Mr. Flibble here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Imaginary, which I know last night I reviewed the movie Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire, and I gave that movie a 9 out of 10. It was really good. However, this movie is really nothing special. This movie is basically a combination of the Insidious franchise and The Conjuring. I know this movie was pretty poorly reacted to by critics and audiences, especially Rotten Tomatoes, of course, but I came in watching this movie with extremely low expectations, and to be honest, after I finished watching the movie, I was a bit impressed, but wasn't really too impressed because it's too basic and average of a horror movie to really be insanely impressed by. So basically, what I'll be talking about for Imaginary is the plot and the main antagonist. That's really about it, because there's nothing really special about this movie, or really interesting, like the Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire was. So let's start talking about it. Basically, the plot for this movie is basically a family moves into a house. The house is haunted by an entity. Again, basically the same trope that is done in a ton of horror movies, like Insidious used it, The Conjuring's first movie used it, and now this movie uses it. Of course, the entity is haunted by none other than a stuffed animal. A stuffed animal bear whose actual name is Chauncey. Now, Chauncey likes to manipulate little kids, as it's revealed that the stepmom of this family, whose name is Jessica, had her own little encounter with Chauncey. In fact, her dad also had an encounter with Chauncey, and her dad got put into this coma because Chauncey made him see like all the nightmares it has on little kids, and it made him go insane basically. So eventually, towards the end of this movie, all the way towards the end, the entire family has to do some ritual to enter Chauncey the Bear's own dimension. Yeah, that's right, it has its own dimension. Now basically, this dimension is kind of basic and severely similar to Insidious's dimension, The Further. Now, of course, like in The Further, there are spirits in this dimension, probably spirits that Chauncey the Bear has killed. And there's some old lady neighbor also in this film who is revealed that she was the former babysitter of the stepmom Jessica. And she, however, actually remembers the encounter that Jessica would have with Chauncey the Bear. And she joins the family in doing the ritual to get to Chauncey the Bear's dimension. And she basically gets killed, of course, because she's stupid in this film. Because basically she gets this obsession with wanting power when she's in Chauncey the Bear's dimension. It's kind of stupid. Again, of course, she dies immediately because of that. Because why wouldn't? And basically, the rest of the family uses all the power they have to basically shut the door on Chauncey. And this door is basically in the basement of the house, and it connects to the real world and Chauncey the Bear's world. And, yeah, that's basically the rest of the plot. And it's basically really just a happy ending in the end. Now, really, to discuss the main antagonist of this film, Chauncey the Bear. I discussed a bit of it in the plot. This bear is like a stuffed animal bear who is an imaginary friend to the youngest stepdaughter, Alice. But of course, isn't really imaginary, instead is some supernatural entity that possesses the bear. And I think we probably need to discuss the CGI that is used to see Chauncey the Bear's monstrous form, because it is laughable at best. Don't get me wrong, I know this film had a lower budget than the Conjuring franchise, but this CGI was just so bad that you can't even be scared of it. Sometimes you could be scared of it because it's so bad that it actually does look monstrous, but definitely not in the way the directors intended it to be. But basically, Chauncey the Bear in any way does not compare to any of the antagonists that Blumhouse has produced, such as Bathsheba, Valak, or the lipstick-faced demon. It's really on none of those levels, and it's kind of just an antagonist in a horror movie that you would basically forget after a while. So yeah, basically, it has its own dimension, and the family finds a way to lock him in his dimension forever, permanently. And yeah, that's pretty much all Chauncey the Bear does, except terrorizing the family. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Imaginary is a pretty predictable movie, and the plot is predictable. The antagonist is kind of boring, to be honest. So if you're an adult, you'll probably think this movie is insanely laughable and pretty bad. But if you're a kid, you'll probably enjoy this movie a bit. So between the audiences and kids' reactions, I'd probably give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's very predictable and average, don't get me wrong. But it isn't that insanely awful as I thought it would be. Yeah, again, I wasn't really impressed that Blumhouse produced a movie like this, considering they've produced movies like the Insidious franchise, the Conjuring franchise. So it kind of felt bad to see them make a movie like this. Also, the fact that they made the Halloween 40 Years Later trilogy, which they also unfortunately failed in doing that. So yeah, that's really it. This movie is a good 7 out of 10, pretty predictable, average, and decent. Tomorrow I'm probably going to be uploading another movie review, and yep, that's probably about it. And I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.